each member of the panel, and maybe start with James, if I may, to tell us if you were giving advice, if you were allowed to give advice to the people who are preparing the core syllabus once they're appointed, what advice would you give them?
Thanks, Norman. Evening, everybody. That's a hard question. And I don't think I can say anything original on that hasn't already been said tonight. So I guess I just want to reinforce some things. The first thing would be know your purpose. That would be the most important, because what is about to happen is very different from what we have had in the past. So it's really important that the drafting group are aware of that and they know what direction they want to go in. I would say, think of what it is that you want a person who is well educated in religion and worldviews. What would they look like at the end of that education? So think about that. What are the aptitudes and skills that they might need in order to navigate a plural society? I think the second thing I would say is be ambitious. What we have at the minute is very much a lowest common denominator kind of syllabus, and it's really important that we move beyond that. I would worry that we would end up with, again, lists of content around different religious traditions. Now, it's important that we do have some content about foundational content, but we also need to have a syllabus which connects across, and Donna mentioned that tonight as well. Thinking about themes, issues, big ideas that connect religions, it's really important that that's there as well. In other words, I would advise them to go for complexity, not just the simple. And for that reason, my last bit of advice is ask for more time. There's no way you can do this in 20 hours or whatever, a number of days that are being given to you, which is just not good enough.
Anita, yes, please.
Thank you and good evening. So James has said a lot of points with which I would absolutely agree, and I think I would say to the drafting committee that you need to. I would say to the drafting committee that you really need to be clear about the purpose of RE, because I think for so long there has been a misunderstanding, both from teachers and from families and from schools maybe, about what the purpose of RE in Northern Ireland is actually about. I'm very excited at the fact that there is going to be a revision of the curriculum, because as churches we have been calling for this for a number of years. And so we are delighted. But we have to also admit that the change in the purpose of RE will be difficult for some teachers to actually get their heads around, and it will take time, it will take training, and as much as we ask for more time, which I absolutely agree with, for the revision of the curriculum, we will also need good resourcing and good training for teachers to take on board a totally different type of curriculum that they've had. One of the things we've spoken about an awful lot this evening has been withdrawal, and particularly withdrawal maybe from collective worship. And I would like to see the drafting committee make a very clear distinction between religious education, and again, this is something we've been calling for a long time. A clear division between what is religious education and what is collective worship. Those two things should not be conflated, because one's an academic discipline and one is an act of worship. And the right to worship is enshrined in law, and there can be many forms of school assembly, but the curriculum must be absolutely inclusive, and all of that. I mean, events within school must also be inclusive as well. But that division should be made. And finally, I would say to the drafters that think about, as James said, the sort of person that we are hoping to develop, and all of the rounded person. Donna mentioned spiritual growth, and that has been absent. We've been talking about a content-led curriculum for years, and it has been simply a list of content. But we want all the different types of knowledge, including personal knowledge. So we want people to be able to express their identities. We want people to be able to discuss their different experiences of faith, of spirituality, of practice of that faith within a classroom, and a very multi-faith, multi-background, multi-identity context for that, but each person expressing their own and developing their own spiritual identities through discussion, through sharing, and through learning about all faiths.
I don't know. Stopped. Sorry, but to me again. I think if I had two things, I think one thing I didn't get a chance to say earlier, because I can say it now, is our children, if you're from a minority faith, your children ought to become the teacher. My 6-year-old is explaining Islam to his teachers, to other people in his class, and that's a dynamic which can be dangerous. And also, when they get to a certain age, they almost want to hide their faith. They don't want to be the kid that's picked on to explain the faith. So just to sort of echo what James says, we need to have a complexity and be ambitious in how it's drafted, not just tokenistic inclusion. Islam is a very diverse faith. We all know that there is, if we think about Christianity, we're thinking of the 4 churches, the 3 churches, there's the Orthodox, you understand the Christianity. Well, the same is true in Judaism, the same is true in Islam, the same is true. So you can't just have a single list, a single page, and that covers Islam, and that covers Judaism, and that covers Hinduism, because we are ignoring the complexity in others while we completely understand the complexity of what we're familiar with, those chairs and those kettles. So I think that needs to be addressed. So anything that is drafted also has to engage with the lived experience. There are multiple minority faith communities in Northern Ireland, many people who would be willing to engage with the committee and provide input. And again, not just going, we've spoken to the MAH and we've spoken to the rabbi, and we're sorted. Our minority faith communities are so much more diverse and dynamic than that ever would get used. So, thank you.
First, I just want to say thank you to Norman for convening tonight. There's been lots really inspiring things that I've heard. A bit like James, sorry. Lots of things have been said already. I put some notes. Is that the mic?
The mic be, I might just be flashing. I'll take this.
Is this one on? That one's not on.
This one is on, I think? Yeah. Right, we'll do a swap. Sorry.
So, like James said, that one's on. Lots of things have been said already. I put some notes together, and people have said things that sort of fit in with them. So, I'll start with the one recommendation, which I think is primary. Put yourself in a child's shoes, and if you find that hard to do, talk to children. I really think it's important that children have input into this process. Listen to them, try and understand their perspective. I think their perspective should be central. Something comes back to something Rebecca said about epistemic justice. My understanding of that is that children have a right to be informed and knowledgeable, to be equipped with skills to reason, empathise, understand themselves and others, and they also have a right for their own beliefs to be seen and respected. So I think it's really important that the starting point of this whole process should be children, not texts, Bible verses and so on, which I think is the way it has been. Secondly, I think, coming to what you said, James, it's an incredibly short timescale, and I'm sure it's a very talented and capable panel that have been put together, but there will be, I don't know how much RE expertise and curriculum design expertise that there will be on the panel, because I understand it's mainly practitioners. So I think we need to draw on expertise from work that's been done elsewhere, work that's been done in this country as well. We've got James and Rebecca here who are experts in this area, but also there's been a lot of work done in England recently on RE curriculum design. So I think you're going to need a head start, you're going to need to use some of that. So take a look at that. There is a handbook that was put together by the RE Advisory Council of England. It's really good, and it speaks to lots of the stuff we've been discussing today. And yeah, I think that actually interacts with the first point I said. So I think that perspective, that sort of religion and worldviews perspective, or that approach, which is slightly different to the older sort of world religions approach, which focuses more on facts and maybe pure knowledge and less about lived experience. I think it's really important to adapt that approach, to adopt that approach, sorry. So thinking about history, theology, but also sociology, philosophy, different ways of knowing, learning from how people practice their beliefs and worldviews. And then the final thing I'd say is bear in mind the legal context. So all religions and non-religious worldviews must be accorded equal respect according to the law and according to the recent judgment. So it doesn't mean equal amounts of time need to be spent on them. There can be more sort of treatment of the historical and sociological influence of Christianity in Northern Ireland. That would make sense. But it can't be elevated in status above any other worldview, and that's a legal requirement. And again, I'll come back to children as being one of the reasons for that to be important as well. So no child should be made to feel maybe inferior or lesser because they hold a minority belief. And there is a positive legal obligation to make sure that that's the case.
Thanks very much, Jack. And hold on to that for a sec, because I'm not sure that this is working, but hopefully you can hear me. Right, I'll stand a bit closer, because now we want to open this to questions from the audience and to members of the panel, all the panel or individuals. So Edwin has a roving mic, which we hope is going to work better than this one. So we're happy to take questions, please.